this is another Perdigon. This is one that Umpqua picked up from me that will be available in next year's catalog, and it's called the Lite Perdigon. And there's a whole bunch of different colors that they picked up. This is one of my favorites that I've had fishing really well for me here this spring. While it has an imitative mayfly shape, it's more of an attractor-based type, I guess, hybrid. So same start. I have 3 Coq de Leon fibers. I'm going to pinch wrap it, get it in place, and wrap up to the front. And one of the things you may notice about this bead here, it's not a standard tungsten bead, so I sell these in my shop at Tactical Fly Fisher. This is an inverting tungsten bead, and you'll notice that it's offset, so it's kind of a teardrop shape where all the weight is on top of the bead, and that's going to flip your fly upside down and invert it. And that way, when you're drifting, a lot of times when you're yo-nymphing, you're going to be ticking bottom every once in a while with your flies. You should be if you're down in the zone where the fish are at. And if the fly is riding hook point down, you're more likely to either come in contact with rocks or to grab moss, sticks, etc. So if you can flip the fly upside down and have this, it's almost like a crankbait bill in if you think about that from a bass perspective. This shape of bead, for whatever reason, bounces over rocks more than just a regular slotted bead for me in a jig hook. So I feel like I don't wedge as much in between the cracks as I do with regular beads. All right. Yeah.
Sometimes guys anchor with lead. What's your experience with that?
Just super glue. That's all I really do. Loctite brushable is my super glue of choice there. I'll do one for you in a second here just to show you. I probably won't. I've got other. I went and super glued them all on last night, so I wouldn't have to do that for these, but I'll show you how to do it.
That's the whole reason I came.
Well, I'll do it, and it'll take about 10 seconds. So that's another thing that I'll stage tie. I'll just get all my beads on hooks, get them all sitting ready to go, super glue them all, and put them in the foam, and then I can just pick them off. And sometimes if I've got a day where I don't have a lot of time to tie, but I want to prep for the next day when I do, I'll sit down and put a bunch of beads on hooks so that they're all ready to go when I sit down at the vise the next time. Okay, so I have root beer crystal flash here, and I don't know why on earth they call this root beer, because it's more amber than anything. I've never seen a root beer that's that color anyway. It must be a pale ale root beer or something. But it's a really interesting color. I don't know why it works, because there aren't a lot of things anywhere close to this that I've found in nature, but it's been really successful for me even during the middle of kind of some techie midge and beta hatches on the Provo this spring and winter. So I just tied the crystal flash into the back right at the base of those fibers, or the tail fibers, and I laid a base of thread down, same thing. I want it thin. So one of the things you'll hear from European competitors that they'll say all the time is thin to win, thin to win. And not only are most things in nature quite a bit slimmer than we fly tyers tend to make them when we put them on a hook, but the thinner you make your fly, the faster it's going to sink without additional weight. So if I can make my fly sink without additional weight, it's also going to drift better because it has less inertia once it gets down there. And then I'm just using that rotary function to lay a touching wraps of that crystal flash to the front. Now with these beads, it's kind of hard to get your scissors in on the top, so whenever you're tying materials down with this, it's wise to put it on the side or on the bottom where you can have better access with your scissors. Otherwise, you're going to have some tag ends that you can't get flush. So you can do that. In fact, I probably should have done this next step beforehand, so I didn't leave tag ends. But I'm going to switch to a hotspot color for to finish the fly in the collar. So this is just fluorescent orange 16-aught Vivus. And normally I do this before I wrap the crystal flash body, because then any of the tag ends from the thread that I have, I can bury under the crystal flash so they aren't exposed, and I don't cover them in resin and make them look funny. See, I've got a little tag end right there that I can't really get much closer with my thread, or my scissors, and that's gonna be exposed in the resin. So it's wise to make that thread change before you wrap the crystal flash. But that's all right. It's cosmetic. It's not anything that's gonna affect how the fly fishes. So I'm just putting a couple whip finishes in there to make that little hot spot. And this is the part where I would normally put that nail polish on, but instead I'll just cover it with the Solarez. And you want to be careful also when you're applying this resin. When you come back here, on the bottom you can go all the way to the back, but on the top it's wise not to get all the way to the base, at least the last tiny little bit, because if you get any of the resin in at the base of the tail, once you set it, it can be kind of brittle, and fish it for a while and that tail is going to break off basically in some fish's mouth. Okay, so that is the finished Light Bright Perdigon, and I had a little thread wrap that got mixed up in the resin there, but luckily again it's just cosmetic.